All right, so let's start with this. Some big decisions made during last night's Charlotte City Council meeting. We're talking about from budget to data centers and much more. Again, a jam-packed City Council meetings. Let's bring in Charlotte City Council member who joins us live here on Live Impact News, Dimple Ajmera, here on the program. Thank you for joining us.
Nick, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, a long night for you guys during the meeting. Let's
It
start with
sure was.
let's start with the budget because it passed last night, and the big story: property taxes will increase. I know City Manager Marcus Jones has said this is strictly going to public safety, but the question I have gotten, and I don't want to say this is everybody in Charlotte, but the question I have gotten is, why does this come at the expense of taxpayers?
Absolutely. I think that's the right question to ask. In fact, throughout this budget process, some of my colleagues and I have asked the same question: how can we reduce the tax burden on our working families? So the budget that we approved the budget that we approved for fiscal year 2027, that does focus on public safety and taxpayer accountability. Throughout this process, we have asked the manager to find ways to reduce the property tax rate. Nick, as you know, as part of our budget adjustment process, we asked the city manager to ensure that there is a pay parity between the fire and the police. And we have been able to accommodate that adjustment along with other adjustments, resulting in multi-million dollars without passing that on to our taxpayers. So yes, as working families are tightening their belts, they should ask the government to do the same.
You mentioned the raises for CMPD and also the fire department. Why was that important to have that equal? Because there was a slight difference, right? But both 10% equal. Why was that important?
Yes, Nick. So public safety is a team sport. We need both fire and the police to do the work that they do to protect everyday residents. And when we look at the fire and the police, this was the first time where we had seen a significant variance between the pay when it came to fire and the police. And we wanted to make sure that we recruit and retain the best talent that we have in both fire and police. We did hear very loud and clearly from our firefighters that they wanted us to have pay parity like we have always had. So we made that adjustment to ensure that there is a pay parity between fire and police.
Another thing I want to get to, and again, here on the program, we have Charlotte City Council member Dimple Ajmera here joining us. All right, so you guys voted to impose that 150-day moratorium when it comes to new data center development. I mean, this has been a big story, as you know, not only here, but across the country.
Right.
My question, what happens next? And is there a chance that this moratorium gets extended?
Well, Nick, let me tell you. So when I called for a pause, that was a direct result of communities' input, neighborhoods' concerns, and hearing from experts and municipal leaders across the state and across the nation. That did not emerge overnight. I have asked questions over past several months, and based on my research, I knew that our regulations did not keep up with the growth and the pace of AI demand we are seeing and the AI boom. So we need to ensure that we protect our communities, that we protect our taxpayers, and that we protect the quality of life that all residents, regardless of where they live, enjoy today. So let me be very clear, Nick. This pause is not a ban. And the conversation, it's not about whether AI is good or bad. It is about whether we have done our homework or not. In this case, we need to do our homework to ensure that we can put guardrails and safeguards in place to protect our community. We need to make sure that the cost for electricity is not being passed on to our residents. We need to ensure that we are not subsidizing billion-dollar industry. And there are currently conversations occurring at the state level to remove some of the tax incentives that's currently exist under the old state law, where data centers, hyperscale facilities do not have to pay sales tax on their electricity. Construction of this hyperscale, massive, 1 million square feet plus facilities. And so when they receive some of the core services like public safety, we talked about infrastructure, the question that I've heard from residents, and that's a fair question, are they paying their fair share, or are we subsidizing this large million-dollar industries? So I think we need to continue to do our homework. Staff has said that it's going to take them 150 days, and that is sufficient for them to come up with recommendations for the council. We will have stakeholders group that is going to guide us in terms of how and where and what type of regulations we need to put in place to protect our taxpayers and to protect our communities.
Is part of that homework speaking with state lawmakers? Because, I mean, it's no secret that the relationship between what happens in the General Assembly and politics in Charlotte, to put it well, bump heads. But is there some sort of conversation that's going to be had during this 150-day moratorium?
Absolutely, Nick. The conversation has not just started now. We have been having conversations with our state legislatures in terms of what type of protections that we need and what type of flexibility that our communities need. And, Nick, this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue regardless of where you live in the state of North Carolina. It affects all parts of our state. So this is an issue where Democrats, Republicans, independents, everyone agree on that our regulations were not designed for the mass and the scale of the facilities we are seeing now. When we adopted the Unified Development Ordinance a few years ago, Nick, we never anticipated having hyperscale, massive data center facilities we are seeing today. So clearly, this is not an issue that is unique to the city of Charlotte. This is an issue that municipalities across the state, across the nation are wrestling with it and trying to make sure that regulations keep up with the pace of this industry. And 150-day pause today can prevent years and years of unintended consequences tomorrow.
One last question before I get you out of here. You've been so gracious with your time. Thank you again for stopping by. Take us inside the process of picking an interim mayor, Mayor Vilaus. She has just weeks left before she steps down. Take us inside that process, and also from your vantage point, what does Charlotte need right now in an interim mayor?
Yes, so Nick, I have repeatedly said that we need our process to be fair, transparent, and objective so that residents have trust in the outcome of this process. And I believe the council has done that with approving the process. In terms of who will be the best candidate, I cannot speak for the council, but for me, I would like to see someone who can provide a steady leadership over the next 18 months, as we have some critical issues that council is working on. We need someone who is going to help us bring the entire council together, who is going to bring this temperature down and really remove some of the political tension that do exist. And I look forward to seeing who the winner will be. Um, as part of this, as a result of this process, but I'm continuing to hear from the community. I'm looking forward to hearing from candidates at our public forum. And I am getting calls and emails. We have over dozens applicants at this point, and I look forward to hearing from them.
One follow-up to that. Part of that transparency was making those names public to those who have applied. Was that pressure from City Council? Was that public pressure? Was that media pressure? Do you know any? Do you have any insight of what was behind that switch?
So, Nick, I can tell you that the council does believe in transparency, and the council has repeatedly called for transparent process. So as a result of those calls for transparency, we have seen the names being public about who has applied.
All right. Charlotte City Council member Dimple Ajmera answering a number of questions for us here on the program, breaking down all things Charlotte City Council. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time to do this.
Of course. Thank you so much, Nick, for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
It's good to see you always.
Yeah, same here. And again, feel free to join us again with any updates Charlotte City Council has.
Will do. Thanks, Nick. Bye-bye.
All right, let's head to break, y'all. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on the WCNC Charlotte app.